What's going on, people? How's everybody doing out there this evening? It's your man JB with you once again, and it's the Mind Your Business podcast. I want to appreciate you guys for hanging out, tuning in. We got an interesting show today, this evening. We've got Mr. Alex Holt. I know, he's been around for a while, doing a lot of things, and so we're gonna have a. I'm just gonna sit back, have a conversation with him, talk, see what's going on, see what he's been up to. Trust me, he's been working. He's got bills to pay. He's got kids. He got a wife. He got bills to pay. So he's been working. So we're gonna have a conversation with him. But once again, you guys, we do this every Monday. It's the Mind Your Business podcast. Make sure that you share and share the links. Make sure you like us and hit that notification button on our YouTube page. So that way, when we go live, you have the opportunity to get the notification, especially when you have days like today where Facebook is down and Instagram is down. If you get them notifications, if you subscribe, then as soon as we go live, man, you got it. But right now, let's get into it. We got my man, Alex Holt. It's been a while. I haven't talked to him in a while either. So, what's going on, bro?
How you doing? I'm
I'm
good.
good, brother. I am well. How about yourself?
Doing really, really good. It's good to be talking to you, man. I was thinking about it. I was like, man, it's been a minute.
It's
It's
been a
been a
while,
long.
man. It's been a while. I think the last time we talked, I think you were at the time you were touring.
Yes, it
You
was
know,
our first.
you were touring and no, man, you were an international star, bro. You were listen, man. Alex Holt. That name rings bells around the area,
Wow,
and actually
wow,
not just locally, man, because you guys were all over at one time.
man. We were doing a whole bunch, and I think about it now, and just think about how much I've done 10 years ago.
Mm,
Within 10, and then you just think about it, man. It's been a ride. It's been
yeah,
a real
yeah. So let's talk, man. What you up to now? What are you doing now? Where have you been? What are you doing now?
man. JB, since the pandemic happened, right at 2020. My wife and I, we had our second child, and he is now a year. And well, he was born in February, so pandemic started in March. Well, it started, but it really hit off in March. So right after we had him, we kind of went kind of off the radar a little bit. To be honest with you. Um, and so for the last 2 years, I've actually been working at the Mount. It's a church here. Well, actually, that has multiple locations in the Virginia area under Bishop Kim Brown. And so I've been the creative director um, at the Mount. So my job, which I started as just, graphics, and I was doing my thing as far as with music and stuff like that. But when the pandemic hit, I heard God before the pandemic tell me that, it was time for me to kind of hang up my hat as a minister of music at one of the sites. And it was crazy because this was 2019. We get to 2020 and we kind of figure out, okay, I'm not going to be a minister of music at a site, but they brought me over to like the main campus to oversee like all the broadcasts and media and all of those things, not knowing in March everything will go virtual, and that the church in itself, all the other sites will kind of come to a pause, and everything will happen at this main site with broadcast and media, and this was the department. Now that I'm over, not knowing any of this would happen, so who knew that me following God and making the decision not to really do music at a local church, but to go more so into media and videography and all those things. Who would have known that all of that would happen? So 2020 hits, brand new baby, me and my wife, brand new baby, and now I'm at a church that's now all virtual that has on book 16,000 partners,
Mm,
and so that everything that we were doing had to come through, this department that now I'm leading. So we're having to build what the virtual church is. And so I'm working with really closely with a colleague at the church who was really also a brain behind everything that we were doing. And, we really just took a year to really just carve out how are we spreading the gospel to a virtual community where everybody's used to coming to church. And so for the last 2 years, that's really been where my head has been, really just being behind the camera now, where in for the last 10, I was in front of the camera, but getting the opportunity to kind of learn more so leadership, learning how to deal with people, learning how to, see ideas even on a larger scale from the beginning all the way to the end, and even forging, what the virtual church looks like. So it's been a ride for these last 2 years, man. And I'm excited, but I do feel like it's like that whole getting back in front of the camera. It's coming back around soon. So this conversation, man, is kind of right on time.
So how did so you kind of explain how you went from, I guess, Alex Holt and free worship to now Alex Holt, the creative director at probably one of the largest and most influential churches in our area,
Yeah,
hands down. Um, for those, I know. So I know a lot of times it's God and there's timing and seasons and things of that nature,
mm,
and I understand that. But for you, how were you able to get into that? How were you able to get into the room to have the conversation to become the creative director? Like, so outside of prayer and prayer life and Jesus lovers and all of that, got to have a skill set.
right.
There's got to be some things, some tangible things that you have to have as well that will not only get you in the room, but once you're in that room,
Right.
you have the you can kind of say, hey, I've done this, such and so, this, that, and the third. And so, how did that happen, and how were you able to even get into the room to have that conversation?
Be honest with you, everything that I've done in my life in the last 10 years was really kind of the setup for the top of the pandemic. So thinking through it, I started asking myself kind of the same thing. I think sometimes we think stuff just kind of happens and we get experience from here and there. I went to school for business entrepreneurship. So, like, my major was not graphic design or cinematography or anything like that. All of those skill sets came from, number one, and this is, not being churchy, but me being a PK.
Hmm.
My dad, we started our church when I was 12 years old with just me, my mom, my brother, and my dad. And so when you're a PK, you got to do everything from cleaning the bathrooms
Right.
to playing the drums to playing the keyboard to singing to whatever is needed. You kind of do those things. So not knowing that my life I was being groomed for like now from the past. So from that, now having my own group, being almost like the creative director of what my group was, just taking it,
Hmm.
producing albums, making graphics because I couldn't afford a graphic artist, so I had to learn how to work Photoshop. I had to learn how to make commercials. I started off in what's the joint on Microsoft, Windows Movie Maker, then to iMovie, and then I learned how to do Premiere. But all these things were kind of me picking up. My mom is a graphic artist. That was her like major. That's what she did. And my dad was in the military, but then after he got out of the military, he went into basically doing commercials, videography. That was his thing. So it's like I'm this melting pot of both my parents, and then my dad started pastoring. So then the ministry side also kind of took over from that. So I was able to gain a lot of skills from that. I then, because I was the minister of music at one of the sites, I was also the graphic director or the graphic artist, excuse me, not director at Chesapeake. It was just kind of just this conversation of we've seen what you've done, and let's just see what happens. Not knowing, I'm telling you this, like we didn't know that the pandemic was going to happen. So there was never a creative director position there. It was kind of brought up, by thinking, okay, well, if I'm not the graphic artist, I know I have more skills than that, and it just kind of evolved. But I really got at the table because of everything that I've done in the past and getting to that point. That's kind of how I got there. So I'm still like, I don't know how any of this happened. I don't know how I just flowed to this place.
Right.
And and I'm not trying to just put it on God, but I can really only say that. I think I got it right by being obedient because
Mm-hmm.
this is the thing. This is the thing. If I were still the minister of music at one of the sites, those sites were paused. So
Mm.
everybody's, although they were still getting paid, was kind of paused too.
Right, right.
So that had me in this place to where I was an asset, but I was also still able to provide for my family and to do a lot of other things. And so getting to that place was really what I've done. Conferences, all these things. I'm just saying
Mm.
everything kind of sense and kind of came together. So
And I think a lot of times people don't realize that there's things that you do that ultimately can set you up for something major, something bigger, something larger.
right.
Uh, but it's all about you doing it in excellence, doing it with the correct heart and the correct motive.
Right.
And then for you, I mean, you've like you said, I mean, you were doing so much,
Mm-hmm.
so it just kind of prepared you. So when you got the call or the text or whatever it was to have that conversation and to sit down and get in that space, you were prepared for it.
Right.
Let's
Uh,
talk. Yeah.
I think about this, man. You can, you are. I was prepared. I'll say
Hmm.
that,
Hmm.
but I don't know if I was prepared for the magnitude of work that will really go into just how the world changed. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
everybody had to pivot,
Right.
look at what they're doing in a whole different direction. And I think that was really one of the harder things for a lot of us was just pivoting and seeing, okay, this is how it was, but now the world literally has changed in front of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
having to pivot and do something totally different that you're not used to, but just kind of trusting your gut, man. That's really what I've learned is you got to trust your gut. And there are certain things that you already have, like you said, internally that you don't even know that you possess, but you're there because you do possess it and you can make it.
So with that, and how's that been for you? Like outside of maybe the learning curve, but like you said, even the work, and then kind of going, you kind of got into it, and then all of a sudden the world just shuts down. And for you at that point, it probably made your you probably had to work harder at that point.
Yeah, it's crazy. First off, having a new baby,
Hmm.
out to my wife, because she really held it down. Her job, like, kind of, said you can work from home, so it kind of worked out. But having a brand new baby at the top of something like the pandemic and being the work that you would have to do if you were in broadcast, it worked out well, but it was hard. It was hard work. But I'm glad that we kind of did it. But it eventually worked out. But it was really hard trying to come up with, okay, what is the concept? You got to realize, before, just the church that we're at, most of the people were in person. So most of, like, the online experience was there, and the idea was there, as well as the concept from my colleague. The concept was there, but we really hadn't put it into, like, to what it is now. And so now I think we just hit 1 million views on YouTube, and just it's taken on a life of its own. But it was very hard in the beginning stages. It's
And
tough,
how much sleep were you losing?
man.
Outside of the baby, you can't put on the baby. How much sleep were you losing?
You come in the house, soon as you get home, it's like here, and so it's like it was crazy, man. Trying to sleep during that time was tough. But looking back on it, my wife has been amazing, and I mean, I want to mention some of the stuff she's. We'll talk about that later in the
Mm.
conversation, but that we're about to kind of launch based upon some of the things that we had to go through within these last 2 years. It is kind of making it worth it now because we learned a lot of lessons. We have a 5 year old now,
Mm.
but that 1 year old, he was 4, but that 1 year old kind of helped us to kind of learn a lot of lessons about ourselves, about our marriage, just a lot of stuff that this time frame kind of helped us to see.
And you guys at that time had been married for about how long? And listen, Make sure you get it right. I'm not trying to get you in trouble. Get it right, man. Get it.
We haven't because we're going on 8 years in November. November the 2nd. I got that.
Okay.
Going on
Okay.
8 years. So probably like we were at 7, or maybe like no 6. This
Okay.
was yeah. So we were at 6 years, and yeah, man. I learned, and I know this is not just about marriage, but I learned just through all of this communication. We had been dating for like we've been married for 6 years, dating since I was 20. We got married, so we had been dating for like 6 years as well. But one thing that I'm learning, man, the older I get, is you learn your spouse like every so many years, because
Yeah.
it's like everybody's evolving, and you're kind of like turning into this new person the older you get. And
Hmm.
so that's one thing that we kind of learned, that we had to communicate on a different level, because we were growing up and we were just becoming new people. And so, man, I'm constantly learning more and more about communication, how to stay connected with your
Oh yeah.
spouse, continue to evolve with each other as one grows. You grow along by just keeping those lines of communication open.
Yeah. Yeah. Because trust me, when those lines of communication shut down, it can get ugly.
Man, I mean,
Listen,
I know.
it, you
Yeah.
know,
And
it,
the 20 that year 2020 was tough for us, because like we had all of these things that could bring stress to a relationship.
oh yeah.
So just kind of being kind of through that now, and just being able to learn communication. Marriage counseling is great.
Yeah.
It's not something you just do in the beginning of your marriage. It's something that you should do continually,
Hmm.
because it does help. It helps in a lot of stuff. And so, man, stress is real.
Yeah.
Stuff
Yeah.
stress on your relationship is real. But it's like during those times, that's when you got to come together even more. And I think that's kind of that's what we did, and that's
Yeah.
why we are now.
Yeah. Between marriage counseling and therapy, bro, those two things right there, man, can uh, help you get through a whole lot of things.
Definitely. I'm an advocate for it, man. I do both. So we have marriage counselor, I have therapy, prayer, all those things. But therapy is has been amazing for me. I used to be the one that thought, if you got to see a psychiatrist, that you're like crazy. But that was me back in the day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but and therapy is amazing because it helps you to see yourself. It helps you to really see
Yeah.
yourself, and a way, just like you're doing right now, of saying something, and then it's like you open up and you start talking even
Hmm.
more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah,
And then too, and to be honest with you, man, just especially as men, especially men of color, you know,
yeah.
we don't really have these. We don't really have these type of conversations. Like, shout out to my man Ali. He hosts a thing called the Virtual Barbershop,
Mm-hmm.
and what happens is brothers just get on Zoom and have conversations about whatever they may be. If we're talking relationally, our relationships with our spouses, our partners, whatever, those conversations, we have them. And,
Yeah.
my wife and I, we were part of a community organization that also did the same thing, just to have those conversations, to have a group of brothers that one are going to hold you accountable, but
That's the
then,
thing.
yeah, going to hold you accountable, but then at the same time, are going to allow you to be who you are and not judge you, but going to give you quality information.
Yeah.
Not going to have you somewhere smoking and drinking or at the strip club, but it's going to really sit down and have the conversation and talk and listen and give you some really good words of advice and wisdom that's going to help you and help your relationship go to the next level, man. So,
Yeah.
yeah, man. Marriage counseling and therapy, man, is matter of fact, that might have to be a shirt or something,
Yeah.
bruh. That okay. But anyway, let's talk free worship, man.
Let's do
So for a good while, it was Alex Holt and free worship. You guys were touring, you were making music, you were doing shows, and you got projects out. How was that run? I mean, it had to be a great run, but in your eyes, how was the run?
I think it was amazing. I since the pandemic, we took a break. But everything that kind of happened before that, man, it was such a learning experience and a learning curve for me. That was my first time really kind of getting a taste of what leadership was. And man, with anything, you just as you I don't say this, man. You know, when you're younger, you are so ambitious, and you know, for us, we thought that when we put out that first album, like, all right, we made it, like, you know, let's do we can do it from here.
Right.
Um, I learned, and I talk to artists all the time. It's funny because I get like hit up in DMs from different artists, like newer, asking like, you know, if you had any type of advice, you
Hmm.
know, what advice? And one thing, man, that I tell, you know, emerging artists and new artists is to enjoy the journey, because a lot of times you get so caught up and you get so focused on the next that you really don't take a moment to really think about where you are right now. And you know, for us, we were very focused on, you know, not only spreading the gospel but doing it in excellence and being successful at it. And so, you know, our focus was something that I really admire, and I love each and every person that, you know, has been a part or is a part of the group, man. And so, you know, that was a great 10 years of my life. Started when I was 20. Actually, I was more than that, about 12. You know, right before the pandemic, we had a conversation, and we basically said, you know, let's take a moment to kind of breathe. We've been doing this for like a decade, all of our 20s. Um, you know, it's not blaming my 1 year old, but me and my wife are like, we're about to have another baby.
Hmm.
You know, going back to school, we're doing this, doing that. We just want to take a moment just to kind of recalibrate and just kind of get our family, you know, kind of closer, because when you're doing music, when you're doing any of those things, you're really focused. We're on the road all the time, always doing something. We had just put out our last album, and it hit Billboard 2 weeks in a row. And so, you know, for me, I was like really excited. Um, but I believe that I'm not done, you know, with music at all, man. I got so many songs, and it's just like I'm looking at my keyboard right there. But it's like I think that we're gonna come back to do something else, but just right now we're just kind of taking a moment and kind of just kind of doing growing up, basically, you know, and just seeing, you know, what else that we have, you know, outside of that group, outside of the group.
So then we can honestly say we can look forward to a another Alex Holton Free Worship Project.
So, you know, the last time we talked and everybody kind of jumped on, we were talking about doing something, you know, else, and something virtually. So, you know, it's still on the table.
Okay.
Um, my wife and I, we're kind of putting something together as well that we're going to be doing together. That I think will be really amazing, and she's doing some stuff on you know, on her platforms as well. That hopefully she can talk to JB as
Oh
well.
yeah,
You know,
listen. We look. One thing about it is we try to get, and the whole premise of the show is to get business owners, entrepreneurs, creatives, and influencers on the show, and just have the conversation about the journey and the process that it takes. Uh, Whether people want to call it successful or whatever, being successful is really and honestly is kind of in the eyes of people. They're the ones that deem who's successful. Because at the end
right?
of the day, you could have done a whole lot of things and really think that you haven't done anything.
That's very true.
You know what I mean? So, and you could have all kind of accolades and still be like, I can always do more, or I need to do more.
Yeah, good. That's really good. I mean, I think that success, what I've learned is that success is based off of your perspective of what success is.
Hmm.
And a lot of people have different perspectives of what they see success as. I tell myself all the time, and anytime I'm talking to somebody, I think before you start a venture, you should, in some cases, kind of write down what success looks like to you in the
Hmm.
beginning. Because what happens is you'll get in it
Hmm.
and you'll start doing these things and you kind of forget your why. You forget, okay, this is why I started. But if you fulfill the why, then you are successful. I don't think money makes you successful. I don't think I really, you know, and there are certain things that people deem as successful. But I think you have to know what success looks like for you, because if not, you're going to be chasing this thing that you will never attain, and you'll feel like you will feel unfulfilled because you didn't know what your goal was. You didn't know why did God put this thought in you to do this from the beginning. Because if you do what he told you to do, this thought, this vision, if you fulfill that, that is real success. But a lot of times we let social media, we let
Hmm.
what we see people do take our mind and our eyes off of what we're
Right.
supposed to do.
Yeah.
And now we feel like, okay, I'm not successful because I'm not getting the results that this person is getting. Well, maybe what you were supposed to do is this, and this is the amount of people that you were supposed to reach, or this was your way. But we let what other people do, we let that distract us from our purpose and from what success is supposed to be.
Well, speaking of that, do you think that you fulfilled your why with Alex Holt and Free Worship?
I do, man. I think the only thing that we didn't do that I believe that we still have time is that we never sung overseas, and never ministered overseas, like in another country. But I do believe that there's still time for that. But I do believe I fulfilled my why. My why, honestly, when looking at it, and really honestly thinking about why I did what I did, was it was a community of young adults, like my circle. And when I look at each of them now, most of they're in their own careers. They are doing very well from this for themselves. We were kind of like each other's accountability. And I feel like the reason why we got together was to not only do music, but we are a family, and we really held each other accountable. And most of us, if you look at like people who are connected or were connected, we were able to kind of work out a lot of our internal issues together. And I think sometimes, man, especially when you're young and you're growing up, if you don't have anybody to look to, anybody to kind of lean on, it's kind of sometimes kind of tough, like to live positively and no, and to live for God. But we were like that family that each other needed. And I do feel that we were successful in that. We traveled a lot of places, did a lot of stuff. But honestly, I look at those things as great. I was listening to our last album on my way here, and I was thinking, man, this is amazing music. A lot of great stuff has happened for it. Just a shout out, during the pandemic, it's crazy because during the pandemic, our music was elevated to other places that I wasn't even pushing. Like I wasn't pushing it at all. We got two placements on this Master P. Master P put out a movie called Never and Again, and you can go to like BET Plus. I think it's on Netflix. It's on Amazon Prime as well. And we got two of our songs placed on that movie, and so it's like with some major,
Wait, wait,
well,
wait. You said Master P. Like make him say, Master P.
yeah. So
Oh,
that
nice.
happened. Like I didn't submit anything.
Hmm.
I didn't like pushing. And this is how God would do, man. Like when you kind of like stop trying to do things in your own strength, like
Right.
you're trying to make something happen, many times that's when God start to open up doors that you weren't even trying to look for. So it was crazy. This guy who was working our song for radio, he asked, do you have any music that you would want to put on a movie? And so he actually listened to our album and he was like, yo, can I use these two songs? And so we were able to license those two songs to Master P, and to Romeo Miller, to his son,
Hmm.
because they're doing fake movies. And so, like if you go and if you watch the movie, you can hear our song. It's the very first song on it, and then it's the last song on it as well, going out into the title, well, into the
Got it.
tracks for credits, going to the credits. And so, man, just looking at that, it just shows you that God really does, he sees you and he knows. And so there are just certain things that we've been getting asked to do, virtual stuff and things like that. I've been able to send our music out to that, even in the midst of us kind of doing our own thing,
Hmm.
the stuff that's been happening online are it's crazy because even online, like our views and our plays on iTunes and all these things have like jumped overseas in Africa. And I look at just the things, I'm not pushing it at all,
Right.
but our numbers jumped up in like Lagos and all these other places, just from us being obedient in our time.
Hmm. And for those of you that are just tuning in, it's the Mind Your Business podcast. We got my man Alex Holt on, and it's powered by Hanging with the Harrisons. And we do this every Monday. We just sit down. We have these conversations with business owners, entrepreneurs, influencers, and creatives just about the journey that they've taken to get them from where they were to where they are. And tonight we're blessed to have Alex Holt on. And for those of you that are from the area, know that Alex Holt was, and still is a household name. You know, like every time you turn around, Alex Holt, Alex Holt, Alex Holt. Oh man, I think at one time I even heard my kids say something about Alex Holt. I'm like, man, what do you know about Alex Holt? Um, but even with that, man, so the process of having a good team,
Yeah, that's good.
how how do you pick a good team? Like, what is the process? Do you go and you hand pick these people? Or are you looking at resumes? Is it people that you grew up with, or what is that process? Because for you, in order to be able to do all of the things that you've done,
Yeah,
and even now, stuff that's going on behind the scenes that you may not be doing. Um, what does that process look like?
man, I think you're right. Having a good team is very important. You're only as good as your team. Anything that I've ever accomplished has been through agreement, through coming together with people that have like minds, but they have been um, my strength and where I'm weak. And so, for example, for everything. So from the group, even having management to even the singers, like where I'm weak in singing, they're strong. I think you have to, in order to pick a great team, you have to first identify your weaknesses.
Mm,
If you can't identify your weaknesses, then it's hard for you to pick a good team because you need people who can fit in those places where you aren't the best. And so for me, some came through friendship. Some came through kind of like scouting out, seeing people like in different avenues or arenas and seeing what they're doing in other places, and just having the conversation to ask, would you be a part of something that we're doing? That really came to where I really needed it when we started launching conferences. And so my wife and I, along with our team, we launched the conference called was the Renewal Conference.
mm-hmm,
For the since we started the group, probably a year after, we had been doing like these like youth services with just like young people at my dad's church. But maybe about it's been 5 years ago, we started to where we took that service concept and we kind of turned it up. And so we started inviting just like household names that weren't really household names. So we had like a pastor, Michael Todd. He's a pastor from Oklahoma who's like huge
mm-hmm.
now, and he just put out like a new book. So we've had a lot of big names, but my team and myself, we've had the ability to kind of see people before they kind of like blow up.
Yeah,
And I think that's something when you have a team, of people around you, they can help you to kind of see stuff you can't see. Because for some, I was like, nah, we don't need them. They're not popular enough. But they're like, well, they might not be popular now,
mm-hmm,
but there are somebody that people want to hear. But I would just say, man, when it comes to building a team, how I build a team is really just seeing people, like I said, who kind of accentuate or can be strength where I'm weak. If I know administratively I'm not strong, I'm looking for a strong admin person or someone who's strong administratively. If I know that, hey, I need somebody to do this or do that, that's kind of how I put a team together because I know what my strengths are, but I need people around me that will be able to work well together. And then also, man, you got to have chemistry. You have to have chemistry with your team, and they have to believe in the vision. If they can't believe in the vision, then it's really hard for you to move forward with these people. You got to have somebody who believes in the vision that you have, and you have to communicate that vision clear enough for them and to also show them where they fit, like in this dream. I think sometimes what we do is we make the dream so big for ourselves that we don't show people where they fit in the dream because everybody's dreams can be fulfilled if you're doing it together and you're doing it, right. So like wherein this person might say, I want to do this and you want to do this, we can fulfill each other's dream by working together and being on that same page, even though this might be my vision, this can still help to fulfill your dream. Your dream.
I think that was good, man. The fact that you said in order to build a team, first you have to identify your weakness.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, that's probably the big issue is
Yes.
not wanting to seem weak at all.
Yeah.
And not only not wanting to seem weak, but then also not wanting to admit, you know what, I'm not really that good here.
Yeah. It's
You know,
humbling.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yo, you know what? I really do suck at this.
Yeah, and you got to be okay with it because I mean you can't do it all. And I think what I've learned is that it, your true leadership shows where you can give out authority or you can delegate authority. You're not really a leader if you're doing everything,
Mm,
but you be able to lead people and groom people and really multiply yourself in certain areas so that other people can take on like the authority, take on the weight from what you're doing. There's no way you can grow without giving away power, giving away authority. That's the only way that you can like grow bigger and multiply. And so, man, I learned that in some cases the hard way and learned that while doing it. Our conference, has saw thousands young
mm,
people. Like our year that we did with Mike Todd, didn't know it. Man, it was about 12, 1,300 people, young people in the building. And so we did it for 3 years strong. And so we're going to be doing more stuff with that. But just learning how to put a team together, it's a skill, but you also have to, it's what I would add, but you got to follow your gut too. You got to really follow your gut on the right person through, and this is really kind of like discernment. You
mm,
kind of discern, if this person is right for me. And sometimes you get it wrong, sometimes you get it right. But I've heard a saying that you have to be slow to hire, quick to fire. So in some cases, I'm kind of slow sometimes to add people to the
mm,
squad
mm.
because I want to just make sure that you're the right fit. Because it was a time where I didn't like confrontation. And that's a whole nother. Um, but you got to be able to, man. You got to be able to just man up when it comes to being a leader, and it comes to adding to a team because you want to be the best leader that your team can have because you want your team to be the best, I guess, team for you in order to be successful and to do what you need to do.
And I think with that, you said the fact of being able to kind of duplicate yourself.
Yeah,
And and I'll be honest, I'm the first one to admit I struggle with trusting people.
definitely.
You know what I mean? Like I have trust issues. I mean, I just do. And so when it comes to trusting someone with what you would almost consider as your baby,
Hmm. It's tough.
is tough, man.
Yeah,
Because you don't know if they're going to treat your baby the way that you would treat your baby.
right.
And then it's a thing to where are they just trying to get in and are they trying to get something out of this thing, or the motive behind it, and but once again it goes to discernment,
Yeah,
being able to know that, hey, this guy ain't it, man.
right.
He may have all the skill sets, and he's done this and done that, but there's just something.
Yeah,
And so, but that, I think that's major, man. One, like you said, being able to build a team,
yeah,
but then two, having the discernment to know that, okay, yeah, this is the right fit to say. How many they've been doing this for a while?
yeah. But can I add something else to that team?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Team together, a lot of times your team can kind of fill out who's a good fit for the
Mm-hmm.
team.
Mm-hmm.
When thinking about that, though, sometimes you want to shake your team up, and so sometimes you bring in pieces to your team that can make them, not be so comfortable. And so it's like after you've had a team for a while, and this is just me thinking through like, okay, through music or even through, you know, management or like your own company or things like that. It's like bringing different people on the team they have to answer different problems that you might have, and maybe some of your problems could be that your team feels stagnant. So sometimes it's good to bring somebody on the team that'll make the team kind of move a little bit more
Mhm.
because either this person's going to take my place, or sometimes those are good problems that you can have when building a team. So you got to kind of know what kind of pieces, man, to add. It's like a basketball, like a team. Like you got to know who needs to be in what place. I was
Yeah.
at the Lakers, and I was just like, yo, like how are they going to operate together? I was asking, I don't know who I was talking about, who's going to run point. Like it was like certain things, but if you can
Yeah.
figure how to put the right people in the right places, then you really can build like that can be a successful organization, company,
Mhm.
whatever group, however it has to be. But you got to get the right people in the right seats.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good, man. So let's talk, man. You said you and your wife have something up your sleeves.
Yeah.
What might that be?
So my wife, man, like I was saying, during the pandemic, we kind of got an opportunity to really kind of see each other for who we are. She got an opportunity to kind of understand this whole motherhood thing is
Uh,
something that I really
and
like.
and it's funny as you said motherhood. I heard a
Mm-hmm.
baby in the background on key. Just boom,
You know,
right
I
there.
think here, y'all can hear these babies in the background. You already know they all the way upstairs. Sorry. Like, ah! You know, we have two boys, so but her whole thought process, and kids, man, and our kids, and being a mom, and her wanting to help other young moms as well. So she started something called Mom Goals, to where it's going to be like a video podcast type of conversation that she has with different moms as well as herself, where she gives tips, and she's just like a person that you can kind of glean from, and some of the lessons that she's learned from our mistakes, successes, all things like that. And so she's coming out with that towards the end of this year. She's already started, but you'll be seeing more content and things like that towards the end of this year. And then myself, man, just taking ministry as far as the preach word kind of to another level. So, I really feel the call, to start to, although I do preach, I do all these things as well, but to do that more. So not necessarily saying we're starting a church.
Hmm.
That's not what I'm saying, but we're going to start having more conversation with just people of like minds, people who just want to kind of understand. For me, is really saying, how do I see the Word of God in a different application so that it's to my life,
Right.
so
Right.
that live my life out. And so kind of doing that and just kind of coming together and using both of our influence just in order to help to change our area and just help the world a little bit more. It's a lot of stuff going on, and people need hope, and people need peace, and people need to understand that God's got you even when the world seems like it's going crazy all around us. And so I feel like that is our why of why we're here, why we're together, what we can do to help families, singles, that whole process. So you're gonna see some more stuff coming from us pretty soon.
No, man. So I guess my question is, how are you fitting all that in with everything else you got going
I don't know, man. Gotta hire somebody who's great at administration.
on? Because listen, man,
what, I, what I've
it's
learned is
mhm.
balance.
Yes,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and it's been really key. And just been reading this book by Carrie Newhoff about burnout, how being burnt out is really it's your choice, because you have to be able to like take in discipline. What is the discipline for your day? How do you wake up? What do you do throughout the day? What do you say no to? And I think a lot of times, man, my issue was not being able to say no to certain things. So really having to really learn how to just say, I can't do that. I'm doing family time right now, or that's the biggest thing. How do you balance what you feel like you have to do? Is really just being focused and disciplined on the things that you need to do, and still while keeping family first, well, keeping God first, your family, and then all those other things to me will fall in place.
Yeah, and so I don't even have to ask you about how do you balance then because you just said it.
All right, catch you off.
Yeah, you beat me to it because that was next, man. Was like, well, how do you balance all of the things that you're doing?
You know, honestly, I look, I comparison does kill, but I look at people who are balancing a lot better. I think it's something that I'm daily trying to figure out, and trying to figure out what the discipline of my life and everything that I'm being pulled at, but really, honestly, trying to embrace the no.
mm,
Really embracing, hey, I can't do this, or hey, I can, and really, in the book, how it talks about. Like when it's time for family time, going all in for family time. When it's time to work, going all in for that, and like really doing everything, like wholeheartedly, and not being pulled so thin that everything is mediocre.
mm,
But being able to really give your attention to the things that you need to give your attention. So it's something that I'm learning daily. I am not an expert at it. It's something that I'm reading about and trying to get better at, man. So hopefully, hopefully I'll be able to give you more information. But it's I'm still pushing through
yeah,
and trying. I'm doing okay, but I
yeah,
can do that.
yeah. What How important are mentors?
I think they help with the trajectory of your life, as well as the speed of how you get to a place.
Mm,
I think mentors and wisdom. I always say wisdom is getting the lesson without the pain. And I think when you embrace a mentor and you embrace their lesson, you get places faster with less scars.
hold on just a minute. I need to listen, man. I write things down. My memory's not what it used to be. And when I hear certain things,
Mm-hmm.
now was that yours or did you read that somewhere?
Read
With
that or
uh,
heard that
wisdom is,
is the lesson without the pain.
bruh.
And
Listen, man.
I kind of live by that. I think I live by that vicariously through my childhood because I'm the younger sibling. So when I would hear my older sibling getting a beating or a whooping, something that he did, but I'm not going to do
Yeah,
that.
I might not do that. Yeah, I might not. Yeah, that might be that thing I leave alone.
Yeah, that's the thing I leave alone. And so for me, that's kind of been the thing that I kind of live by. I would rather kind of read about somebody else's lesson because I can get to where they are quicker.
Hmm.
Uh, I can get where they are, like I said, without the scars to prove it. They got the scars. They went through the pain. I can just take the lesson and get to where I need to get to. And I think mentors, man, I think you have to be submitted. And I don't want to sound deep, but you have to be okay with someone kind of pruning,
Yeah.
And I think
Hmm.
we don't like people
Right.
talking to certain
Yeah.
types of. We don't like people pruning us because
Hmm.
we feel we know best and we know better. But if you can embrace that, and if you could find a mentor who can prune or can cut you in love,
Hmm.
I think that's somebody that you have to hold on to and you have to honor. And so I do have mentors as well, and the conversations don't always feel good, but I know that the only reason why they're having conversations like that with me is because they can see something in me that I can't see
Right.
myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
And especially and mentors are people that care.
exactly.
I'm not just gonna get some random dude and
Ooh,
expect for him to check me.
right.
Those these cats that are checking you for a reason. Like they really care and want to see you be successful, whether it's in marriage, in your relationship, in your life, and whatever. And they're doing that because they care that much about you.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? If not, they just let you do what you're doing, man, and deal with the consequences later. And be like, "Dang, bro, yeah, that's tough."
You just let me do that. And I mean, I think you have to be somebody that can handle a mentor. I don't think
Mm,
it's all on the mentor. But if you are someone who doesn't want to be mentored, it's hard for someone to come beside you and kind of care and to help you to do what they think you need to do in order to be where you want to be. I think also that finding a mentor can be tough,
Yeah.
you know, because it's not a lot of people who are just saying, hey, let me mentor you without, paying 19.99 a month
Oh
or,
man. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not, that's not natural these days.
Yeah.
So, I think that once you find one and once you can find somebody who you can trust, I think you got to hold on to them. And for me, one of my mentors is my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think you need to have different levels of mentors as well.
Mm-hmm.
The different levels of mentors really for like the projection of where you want to go can kind of help you to get places that you want to go. So, to me, if I'm married and I want to have a great relationship with my spouse, it would be great to have mentors that can help me in my marriage or help me there because they have conquered that thing. But just finding people like in business or entrepreneurship, that have gone where you want to go, and you trust them enough to help you to get there quicker. I think you got to be able to find those people, and once you do find them, don't be afraid to go after mentors. I
Yeah.
think you can't be afraid to approach someone because a lot of times a person who can be your mentor, they probably didn't think that you would want them to mentor
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, doing that helps, but we can't be afraid to at least ask
Yeah.
and say to, just let it be natural, but just kind of have that conversation.
Yeah. Um, what's the one thing that people may not really know about Alex Holt?
Mm. I was an architect major when I first started at Hampton U, and so I thought I was going to be an architect, but that kind of changed. So I don't think many people know that I was like that I was going to like do that.
Architecture. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. So so with the show, normally when we coming up on the end, we
Mhm.
do what's called highs and lows.
Got it.
And basically what the highs are through this whole journey, what is the highest high that you've had in this journey? And then also what is your lowest low? And it can be either or, you can choose which one to go first. Um, but your highest high and your lowest low throughout this whole process.
Um, I would say, our highest high was probably our second year of doing our conference, and I saw the amount of people who came out based upon my invitation. And just seeing, how influential, your life could be if you really give it your all. Excuse me. If you really give it your all. So I think that was my highest high. My lowest low um, would probably be, man, disappointment of hearing no or like something the disappointment of something not, and I don't want to say something, I want to give an actual time of just I think it was an artist who told me we were going on tour, and I had been in this thing. When you're in music, man, people like to talk a lot. They
Hmm. Oh God, yeah, yes, Lord,
just got down to a low when it just didn't work out.
yeah,
Didn't come to fruition like the person said, or they weren't able to keep their word or not. And I don't want to call names. But that was probably like one of my lowest lows, is because I was so looking forward to it, and I was thinking that was going to be the thing that really catapulted,
hmm,
career to the next level. And so I would probably say that was like one of my lowest lows in my career.
got it, got it.
I don't know if we're talking about life, but as far as career, that would
Career.
probably be my
Let's go life. Let's go life.
life, man. It was when my parents got a divorce.
Mm,
Um, Parents who have been pastoring, who were pastors for years, and who have been married for over 30 years. Um, them getting a divorce, that kind of really got me.
yeah.
But for me, we had given our lives to ministry, and it just kind of showed me that priorities and family. It wasn't any type of indiscretion or stuff like that, but
Hmm.
it was growing apart. That was probably has been my lowest low. Um, yeah, but in life, my highest high, I would say, man, are my kids and my wife. really my family, and really being able to embrace, that they're all you really have.
Yeah.
Like when to the end, that you can do all these other things for a lot of people, and you can make all the money in the world. You can do this and that, but your family is like the most important. So I would say like the birth of my children and getting married. That's probably been my highest highs.
Hey, bro, listen, man, and that was probably the best answer that you could give, because if it wasn't wife and kids, we may have seen a boot or a flip flop or
Yeah.
something just hit you right upside the head soon. I mean, right now.
Right. Like coming right through the door.
And I see you looking out the corner of your eye. So, hey, man, that was, but nah, man, I truly appreciate you coming on, spilling your guts, man, and just having the conversation,
Yeah.
and being transparent. You know,
Yes, sir.
we pride ourselves. This show prides ourselves on having guests that are going to be 145% honest. Only because we want to prepare future entrepreneurs, future business owners. We want them to understand what this can look like
Yeah.
if you do it the right way, or what it can look like if you don't do it the right way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the whole purpose, and it's just to provide them the tools, man. And I think you said a lot of really good things this evening, man.
Thank you.
And so I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Oh man, listen, I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate your wife. Hey, yeah, babe, go ahead, but just know when you're done, what's waiting for you. You know what I mean? I appreciate that. I appreciate the kids. They've been good. Every now and again we hear some in the background, but hey, overall, nothing's falling over. We ain't nothing, so. But I do, man. And with that, I know you guys are working a lot of hours at work, not at work, at home, and I know that time is the one thing that's probably the most valuable thing out here, because you can't get it back. And so I appreciate the time that you spent just being transparent and honest and having this conversation, man. So if there's anything that we can do in the future, man, please
Yes, sir.
let me know, let us know, and I promise you we'll do everything that we can do, man. But I really do, and we'll figure out somehow how to get your wife on,
Yeah.
because we definitely want to talk to her. Can we look forward to another renewal
Yes.
conference?
We're working on something virtual, and so
Yeah.
we're gonna be pretty soon. So,
Okay.
yep,
All right.
man, I've been like just busting at the seams. It's like so much stuff that we're about to
Yeah.
take off. Yeah,
And I'm sure now that you have the additional training and skill set, now being the doing all the virtual stuff for the church,
yeah.
you got some things in your back pocket that you just
Oh yeah,
just ready.
yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Because I've seen the stream, man. And stream that the church does is amazing. So you're doing an amazing job over there, man. They're real blessed to have you there.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. So I appreciate you once again. Hold on for me just a minute.
Sure.
So you guys, once again, that was Alex Holt hanging out with us today for the Mind Your Business podcast. We will do the restream replay. Will air on Wednesday at 11 a.m. on the YouTube channel for those that may have missed it. So make sure you like, subscribe, get the notifications, man, so that you know when we go live. Because listen, it may be a day I just pop up. I may just pop up with a guest, and I'd hate for you guys to miss it because you don't have the notification set on our YouTube channel. I'm just letting you know that, because at the end of the day, we're giving free game. This is all free game. We're not charging you guys, and you're getting some really good content and really great information from people that have been there, that are going there, or are there right now, and are just sharing content and information with you guys. So once again, I appreciate you guys. It's the Mind Your Business podcast, hanging with the Harrisons. Yeah, man, we'll do this again on Monday. I think we have we got coming up Monday. I'm not sure. I can't read my writing. I got a board up there, but my writing's terrible. So we'll figure that out. Just tune in. How about that? Appreciate you guys. We'll talk real soon.